Now this here is a love story for the ages. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Erin James. This is a review of the movie Strange Darling, written and directed by J.T. Molnar. This is a thriller, not a horror movie, about the final murders of a serial killer, and it's as simple as that. That's a simple as log line or explanation of what this movie is about without really explaining it. I had not seen any trailers, and I actually had not heard about this movie until the day I watched it. And maybe I've heard it in passing or seen something about it, but I had no idea what this movie was about. And honestly, I was a bit concerned as it started. This movie had what I would consider 3 different openings to the story, and all were good, but I initially thought maybe the director Molnar thought of 3 creative ways, of different ways to start the story to really get us into this world, and chose to do all 3. Again, all looked good. I think the cinematography is fantastic, and the color palette chosen for this movie, phenomenal. This movie is pretty artsy, kind of in the realm of art house. It's a bit pretentious, but in a way that I like, and it tells its story non-linearly. Again, the shots look great. It looks pretty nice. And I think, or I still feel that maybe it started off a bit messy, or at least that's how it felt to me, especially with it being non-linear. And in this case, and I think this does not happen often, telling it this way made a lot of sense for the movie without spoiling too much, without giving the twist up too early, and really getting you invested in wondering, how did we get here? And once you find out how, you wonder, how are we going to end? What's going to happen next? We start off at chapter 3, we jump to chapter 5, go back to 1, then 4, 2, 6, then there's an epilogue. I feel the pacing is very smooth. It never feels like it stops or drags you along. And I honestly could have stayed maybe several minutes longer, but it's always good to have us wanting more or have wanted more. The performances by Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner were pretty good, and I really appreciated their chemistry. And there were moments where it felt like their romance or the connection that they had was very real or believable. So as the movie progresses or as the story progresses and you see their shift in how they react or respond to one another, you start to really feel that as well, and it feels much more intense and brutal. This movie has just the right amount of gore, violence, humor. The comedy delivered here was very subtle, and it was well placed, and it was earned. We have characters here that may frustrate you throughout, and it's because you understand what is happening and why things are happening, and the characters here may not know what is going on. So you are kind of screaming, it's kind of like yelling at the screen and just knowing what dangers lie in certain areas or certain points in the film, but these characters may not. It becomes laughably frustrating, but in a good way. As the movie concludes, it ends in a way that I was not expecting or predicted, but it makes very much sense, especially the way it was started. I am very happy with this movie, flaws and all. J.T. Molnar seemed to really know his vision, understand the story he had, the story he wanted to tell, and did not do anything to deviate from that path and do anything extra or too much, or at no point did I feel that he was trying to give a little twist or add a little pizzazz to the story. The biggest takeaway for me is how good it looks and how smooth it runs. It was shot in 35mm, which maybe added to the aesthetic that you get here. But the biggest thing for me was the saturated colors, the color palette chosen, and it's definitely intentional and adds to this intensity of this story. I would say you'll have a good time going in watching this movie. This movie might actually make a spot in my top 10 movies of the year. Until next time, y'all take care of each other, check up on one another, make sure you check up on yourself, and remember, potential has no limit.